lost everything today and had to start from zero, this is exactly what I would do to earn my first $1,000 coding. Now, this is not going to be an antiquated video. I'm not going to tell you to do everything from scratch by yourself when there are a plethora of tools and resources out there to help you. All right, so when I took my notes on this, I broke it down into 3 different phases. Phase 1 is actually making sure you have some kind of technical skill stack. Like I said, you don't need to be antiquated. You don't need to type every single line of code, but you definitely should have some understanding of front end or back end or databasing or deployment. You should have some sort of understanding on how to actually build the application or the service that you're selling. Now, I want to make this very clear. Only know what's necessary. You do not need to overreach. You do not need to know every single bit of a specific language or framework to actually start making money. And this is honestly the big separation between those who think and then those who actually do. I personally recommend sitting down and doing a course or watching a good long form tutorial and then getting a couple projects under your belt just so you can make sure you understand the skill set behind it. And then after that, start selling yourself. I personally use Scrimba, Codecademy, Free Code Camp. Those are some of the my more popular courses that I really liked, but also some other great ones are the Solo Learn, the Odin Project. There's a plethora of free resources out there, so I highly recommend taking advantage of those if you don't even understand at all a lick of code. That will get you from 0 to 1. Once you kind of understand the skill of coding, then we move into phase 2. This is where you are starting to do some freelance gigs. Now, there are a lot of really popular sites for freelancing. I'm not saying don't do that. Definitely put your services out there, spend a few hours and actually make a decent profile for yourself. But I want to make this very clear. Do not, and I repeat, do not become completely reliant on those specific sites, because those places are extremely saturated and they have a lot of they already have a lot of talent on those platforms. So completely relying on it in all honesty is kind of unwise. I personally recommend, like I said, building a platform on them, but then after that, actually contacting small businesses, startups in your area and asking to do some freelance work for them. Updating a website or creating a website for them overall is something that companies really need, especially if they're a family-owned situation. They would really take advantage and they would really benefit from having a website or having some kind of digital platform where their services are being promoted. A great resource that people don't really know about is your city's Chamber of Commerce. Now it depends on how up to date your specific county is, but I personally, in my county where I live, it's very up to date with what companies there are and what industries they work in. So I highly recommend, if your city isn't up to date, reach out to ones in your area that are a bit more up to date. And it's just literally a massive repository of companies in your area and that you could contact. There's usually an email address, and if there's not, you can look it up and you can find a phone number to call. Below I'll attach a whole bunch of other resources that I wasn't able to tap into in this video. I highly recommend checking out the descriptions of honestly all my videos, because they're always jam-packed full of resources and information that I might not have remembered to cover, or just I have covered, and actually link it for you to get. Phase 3 in this is kind of actually creating your own quasi business in a sense. This is creating templates, creating SaaS company, software as a service, or doing some sort of automations. Really great company that I highly recommend looking at creating templates for is Framer. I find that company being referenced more and more and more every single day. So creating templates on there and selling on that platform might be a great way to start bringing in income, because they're still new and they are still getting more traction. And obviously there's a lot of other websites out there like Webflow, WordPress, Wix, all those that people are building websites on. So building a template on those sites would be pretty cool. And when it comes to SaaS stands for software as a service. So think about Netflix, for instance. They are selling you movies as a service on a monthly recurring basis. So for this, kind of literally think about software on a subscription situation where they're paying you every single month or every single year to use your software. All 3 of these spaces are a building block situation. You don't need, once you learn how to code, you can start selling to smaller companies and startups in your area. And then once you kind of get that where you're having at least $250 to $500, then you can start selling templates and stuff and start getting some more recurring revenue coming into your bank account. That's kind of the process of scaling up with your skill set, and then also along with that, just making sure that you are completely learning things along the way. I am not someone that's anti-AI. I definitely think you should take advantage of AI, but you definitely should be learning what it's doing. So one thing that I do for AI is I ask it, what is this doing? What does this specific piece of syntax mean? Break this down for me. So then I can actually understand what's happening in my code, so I can be a better developer and more hireable later on down the line. There are 3 big things that you should be avoiding with this whole thing. Number 1 is overlearning. It is being stuck in that loop of tutorials where you were consistently learning and learning and learning and not actually doing is real. That is something that a lot of people get stuck at, myself included. I was stuck in this loop, this cycle of watching tutorials for months. The next thing is perfectionism. Perfectionism sucks like on all scales, especially for software and tech industry, because when you are a perfectionist, you are like worrying about your product more than actually like selling it to somebody. Nothing is going to be perfect, especially when you get started and when you're in the beginning steps. That's okay. Your first projects are going to suck, and that's just the truth. So you just kind of have to suck it up and like, sell yourself. At the end of the day, you want money, don't you? So like just put your crappy work out there first, and then you'll get better. You really will. And the last thing is building instead of selling. Now, one thing about me, I'm always someone that's going to be a big proponent of doing projects to grow your resume and to grow yourself. While that is, yes, that is really big and very important. I do want you to sell your products. I do want you to create something that is sellable. So, actually in these projects, make sure you're being mindful. Don't just create a weather app or a note-taking app. Create something that's unique enough where people will pay money for it. It's not the actual process of launching and deploying. Use Stripe for payments, use Vercel for launching and deployment. Boom, done. Now you have a working application that you can be making revenue on. Use AI to come up with ideas for like different projects that you could be making that will actually make you money, and you'll start seeing some revenue start building up in your account. Now, no, this is going to take a little bit longer than like a good 1 to 2 weeks. This will be a good 2 to 3 months depending on some people, but I think it's worth it in the long run. Stop holding yourself back and just go. Now, I'm a college student, but I have a startup that I'm working on. So with that, obviously, I'm taking a lot of these different skills into account. So I highly recommend, if you have your own startup and you want to, take some of this information into like funding it, I highly recommend doing that. Please take advantage of AI. It's there for a reason. You're going to waste your time if you don't take advantage of it, but also make sure you understand what you're doing, because being completely reliant on AI is going to kind of screw you over in the long run. Please be sure to like and subscribe down below and comment down what else do you want to see me post. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time on Course Corner.